The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Welcome back to Retro Rangers in the Zone. This is part 3 of an interview that George Grimm and Stan Fischler did. He's in Israel, Stan Fischler is. So enjoy and happy trails.
Good to be able to talk to you.
Fire away and I'm ready.
All right, let me do the intro. Welcome back to the Retro Rangers podcast. I'm your host, George Grimm.
My buddy Aldo. I'm sitting having lunch with the Cleveland Barons in this restaurant in Springfield. And I'm sitting with Aldo in the booth, and all of a sudden this guy's walking down, and he says to me, I'm going to introduce you to this guy. You're going to hear a lot about him one of these days. Really? And the guy comes along, and Stan is John Ferguson. John Ferguson shook my hand. I thought I was shaking hands with a baseball glove. It was enormous. And then, nice to meet you, walks away, and Aldo says, you're going to be in the NHL next season. So I became friends with Fergie throughout. So now, arranged to meet Fergie. They're playing the Flyers, and we're going to meet at the Hotel Warwick, and Shirley came with me. So we're in the dining room, and Fergie walks over, sits down at the table, introduces me to Shirley, and she says, John, I must tell you before we start this conversation that I hate you. The thing is that she meant it, and he thought it was a joke. So from that time on, everything was great. I wound up doing Fergie's book.
Yeah.
And wonderful guy. Great start. I hate you.
That's funny.
But so this was she was definitely my right arm, and more. And the best part of it, although it wasn't easy, none of this was easy.
Right.
The best part of it was that she was into it.
Right.
She was into it big time.
She was your partner,
and she was branching out. She was doing other stuff. She was doing sports medicine for anybody. She was at Shea Stadium doing stuff. But the worst of all was Game 6, Rangers at Devils, the '94 playoff.
Okay.
And you know what happened, Messier and all that. And we had dinner. We had arranged to have dinner at a nice restaurant near Columbia, and it was very, very, very tough. Very, very tough. But hey, you win some, you lose some, and there were plenty of. Actually, one of the interesting things was that when the Rangers won the Cup, I got an assignment to do the parade for ABC TV, which is quite a kick. But people have often asked, well, who are you for? The Devils, the Rangers, the Islanders? I've done the same thing. I said, every one of these teams. Where the hell would I have been if Herbie Gorin didn't call me up in September of '54 and say, how'd you like to work for the Rangers? Well, that was it. And and then to be able to cover the Islanders in the Dynasty, and then to go over to the Devils and do 3 cups, and that was all wonderful stuff.
You've had quite a career,
but not always easy.
No,
not always easy.
Okay. What about your internship program? You have placed a lot of people throughout the NHL. How did the internship program start?
Intern is a pleasant way of saying slave. Because the internship started we were married, so this was about the second or third year after we got married. A guy I knew who worked for Dell Publishing, he wanted to start a series called Hockey Stars of 1968, profiles and stuff. And I got the gig, and that's when Shirley started doing some of the writing. And a guy whose father owned a delicatessen in my old neighborhood in Williamsburg. His name is Jory Leviton. I forget how. He called me up, and in those days, George, nobody knew what the hell intern meant. It meant
Right.
you worked for the doctor.
Yeah.
But this guy called. Somehow he said, "Can I work with you on hockey?" I said, "Sure." And the great thing was that Jory worked out. The terrible thing was that several years later he died of brain cancer. But he was a good kid, and I guess the second year, Frank Brown got hold of me.
Right.
Frank Brown, I was either going to Hunter College or Hunter High School, one or the other. And Frank Brown works for me. Frank Brown's name was in the book, and Frank at the Hall of Fame thing showed me the thing there. Frank,
Right.
we had him down as a researcher.
Right.
So Frank worked out. So then we started, a lot of hockey nuts around, and I began to, one after another. The guy who I had when I did the Don Cherry book, which would have been late 70s, a lot of them made good. Sharon Everson, who worked for me in about 78, she wound up with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. She was covering hockey and wound up being the entertainment editor. Paul Fichtenbaum wound up being the big shot with The Athletic. I think he's still with them, I think. And there's another guy from Brooklyn College, Rich Paul. I can't think of his name. He wound up editing Gold magazine, and he wound up on the coast. So, and of course, the one who went the highest was Jessica Berman, who, she was one of Bettman's top lawyers. She worked for Bettman for 13 years, and then she became the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League. And then I just read this week she's now the boss of soccer, women's soccer. So a lot of them have done. I mean, recently, are you familiar with Matthew Blitner?
Yes. I talk to him all the time. I'm actually going to have him on the podcast soon because he goes out there and makes his own opportunities. He's a great guy.
Two guys I almost fired several times for different reasons. And I decided to not and give them another chance. One is Rob Taub, and the other was Blitner. So it's totally different reasons. And Blitner almost got fired the second day because of something that happened in the office. But Blitner's already done 4 books, for crying out loud.
I know.
Taub, I got Taub a job with NHL.com. And in fact, Blitner, I just put in a word for Blitner on that. And what's his name? The kid Birnbaum, Justin Birnbaum, my sports doctor's son.
Right.
He's doing great stuff for Forbes magazine. A whole bunch. And Alan Crater. Alan Crater came to me from Brooklyn College, and I said, forget about it. You're majoring in biology? No, I better not. Comes back, keeps pushing. Finally, it took him in. But I said one of the best stories of all was Vic Moran. Vic Moran wrote me a letter, and this is when early Devil's days, so this would have been about 2, 3, something like that. Typewritten letter, never forget it. I'm teaching in Tenafly High School, blah, 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 but I want to get into hockey. So I wrote him back and I said, do yourself a favor and keep working in Tenafly High School, because the amount of money you will get from working with me can be equated to one word: zero. You're going to get $0.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make money, I'll pay you off in Monopoly money. You're not going to get a penny. So go back and get another letter from him. No, I really want to do this. I think it was the third letter finally. He said, look, I'm not going to change. You're not going to get a penny. You want to do it? And Vic came on board, and now Vic has been a big shot at ESPN behind the scenes. But, I hear from Vic. Vic is a great, great friend of mine. He's teaching Messier how to be on TV. He's teaching Tortorella how to be on TV.
Wow.
And the best. I love, how Vic is.
Good.
We stayed friends. One of the best things about this is that I've stayed close friends with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
A whole bunch.
Good. What about your NHL pet peeve? Did I lose you again? But your NHL pet peeve.
I'm sorry, I'm missing.
Your pet peeve of the NHL, the thing that.
Pet peeves with hockey?
Yeah.
My pet peeves?
Yes.
My pet peeves. I used to be as a fan, as a Ranger fan. I hated the referees, and I had an incident. See, we used to subscribe. We used to sit in the section 333, row E, seats 5 and 6 in the old garden, the balcony. And the Rangers are playing the Bruins. These were the early 50 years. The Rangers were getting shit on all the time.
Right.
Edgar LaPlante getting his ankle broken in a couple of weeks left in the season. We hated the Bruins.
Right.
We didn't hate the Leafs that much because I used to be a Leaf fan. How can you hate Chicago? It's hard. It was very hard to hate Chicago. The Canadians were the Canadians, and I had been a Leaf fan, but we hated the Bruins. And this particular game, Eddie Coleman on the Rangers got whacked by Fleming McKell, an obvious slash, and Eddie Coleman did the natural thing. He whacked him back. It was a very tight game. It was a very, very important thing. And the red story was the ref. He was a very hateful guy, by the way. So he just looked at a net. He's a great guy, but he looked like a bad guy. Of course, this penalty on Eddie Coleman kind of shit his rent,
Yeah.
So, in those days, I used to bring, my mother would make me a cream cheese and jelly sandwich, one cookie, and 2 tangerines. I love tangerines. Now, we were in row E. So row E was A, B, C, D, E. We were 5 rows back in the balcony.
Right.
I love tangerines, but I was so pissed at the story that I did bullshit to this, and I wound up and I tossed a tangerine. Well, it's very hard to judge the distance when you're up in the end balcony, and it didn't even get close, but it was like a tracer. And the next one went right down, right at his skates. It didn't hit the skates, but it was right there. And that's, those were the passionate times. I told you I was vice president of the Ranger Fan Club. I told you about the letter to Campbell. Huh?
Right. Yeah.
So you know about that.
Right.
So, so it was.
You can tell us again. So just because you told me doesn't mean you told everyone else. So you can tell us again. That's okay.
The thing that bothers me, the thing that I loved the ambiance in the old days. Gladys Gooding at the console, she played the organ between periods. We didn't need anybody to tell us when to cheer. We didn't need anything.
Yeah.
All we wanted was our hockey game, a Coke, a hot dog, and if the referees are bad, we let them know. And if you cheered, it was a perfectly natural situation.
Right.
What I don't like now, and I though it was a terrible idea then, was salary disclosure. And you ask me how much money I make, I say, thank you, George, none of your goddamn business, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So what's this? Why do we have to know what everybody is making? I thought that was a terrible decision. Terrible decision. Then you get into the whole thing about the salary cap and this. I don't think the average. Now I may be wrong, but I don't think the average fans gives a shit about all this, the money, the cap, and blah, 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 blah. But the fans want to go see a hockey game. My team wins, my team loses, it's a fight, and this and that. And I think a lot of attention is spent on the non-hockey stuff, the money, this and that, and the agents and that. And that's why I feel that hockey journalism has taken a terrible turn, but it's 2022 this year, right? So it's not 1932, and this is the way it is. The important thing is, I've said this all along, no matter how the game is changed, there's one and only one bottom line that really matters. And the bottom line is, number one, is the game exciting?
Right.
And the game is exciting now. It wasn't, but in a different way.
Right.
In a different way. And it has to be exciting, because if it wasn't exciting, people wouldn't be paying to go see the games.
That's right.
People wouldn't be paying money on television to show the game. So there must be something right, and that's it.
Right. There's four things I remember about the old garden that out of everything I really remember these things. Was all the smoke up by the roof. You had to walk up a lot of steps because we were always upstairs. The ice cream with the real chocolate syrup in the middle with the wooden spoon. It came in a square box. And those guys who would push the wheelbarrows to clean the ice. They walk around with the shovels, and then they would lay down the hot water with the
well, it's funny.
wheelbarrows.
It's funny you mention that, because my cousin.
That was my first career aspiration, to work for Madison Square Garden and to push that wheelbarrow around the ice. I was maybe about 8 years old, but that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be center fielder for the Yankees. I didn't want to be a fireman. I wanted to push that thing around Madison Square Garden's ice. All right, go ahead.
Well, the thing with that was it was a neat item, and a couple of days ago, my cousin who lives in Brooklyn he went for a walk in Prospect Park, and he said they had Zamboni. He sent me a little video of the Zamboni. And the funny thing is, the Zamboni wasn't a Zamboni. It was a different model. It was the Olympia.
Right.
And then he said to him, he sent me another back. He says, I remember when they were pushing those barrels around the garden. And I wrote him back. He said, I got news for you. I was around when they didn't have the barrels, and what they did was that 3 or 4 guys came out with hoses.
Wow.
They hosed the rink, and then they went around with the squeegees. But time marches on.
Yeah. All right, let's close up with a little bit of humor here. What about Ward Wilson and Bert Lee were the Rangers broadcasters from the 40s through the mid 50s, and you were telling me that Ward Wilson was a real cut up. He had a real funny lion tamer joke that you wanted to share with me.
The thing about Ward Wilson is that he came out of vaudeville. People like Jack Benny, Fred Allen, George Burns. All these stars that, went into movies and radio, they came out of vaudeville. And when Ward Wilson was a vaudeville stand-up comic, but he was very versatile, and he wound up with Bert Lee. eventually Ward became the play-by-play guy the year that I worked for the team, and that's when I met Ward when we went on the road trip. But he was a great guy, a funny guy, and he also worked this radio show, Can You Top This? And he wasn't the main master ceremony. He would pinch hit a lot, but the other guy was Peter Donald, who was very, very, very good. And one day, I'm listening to the thing, and it was a throwaway. It wasn't like somebody sent in the gay. He just threw it away. He said, "You know what the elephant said when the crocodile bit off his trunk?" And the other guy, he said, "No, what did the elephant say when the crocodile bit off his trunk?" And Ward said, "The elephant said, 'Very funny, very funny.'" And he had an audience. See, this is in an audience. And it was like, maybe there were 400 people in the studio audience, and 400 people. It had everybody's funny bone at the same time. The laughter was incredible. It was one of the greatest laughs in television. And Ward, that was a bit that Ward Wilson. It was a throwaway, but it worked so great. And in fact, do you know the guy who does the Ranger thing, McCaffrey?
No.
Sean McCaffrey.
Yes.
So he was supposed to give me a call the other day. He wanted me to bullshit about something or whatever. And I said, okay, blah, blah, blah. So he writes me back there, I can't go. My sister's going away for 3 days. I got to take care of the kids. What should I do? I said, what you should do is you're going to tell this joke to your whatever, grandniece or whatever. And I said, this is what you have to do. You got to say, what did the elephant say when the crocodile bit off his trunk? And then you got to take your index finger and your thumb, you got to hold your nose tight, and then you say, very funny, very funny. So he wrote me back today. He said the older one fell on the floor laughing, and the younger one was very sorry for the elephant. But so Ward was great. Ward was great. You know what was interesting about that thing?
What?
About working for them in 54, 55?
What?
Well, a lot of characters came. One of the guys was Sam B. Guns, who obviously had inherited a fortune, and he used to write stuff about the Eastern League. He was great. He used to write for the program, the Rover program. And he'd come around every Christmas with homemade eggnog. Huge gallon jugs of eggnog. He was a very funny guy. Herbie Gorin, my boss, was a very funny guy, too. Very amiable guy. But the other guy who came in, who wasn't too funny, he started a sports show on WABC. And he'd come in every Thursday, and he'd come in with 10 questions for me about whoever it was. And you know who that guy was?
Who?
Howard Cosell.
Oh. No, he
Howard
wasn't very
Cosell
funny, no.
used to come in he hated hockey, but he came in because he wanted some help with his. I was like his quasi-intern. As it turned out, when my wife wound up working for ABC with her own show, she was next door to Howard. But what a character he was. We had a whole bunch of a lot of funny people used to come to the old garden. It was like I said, it was a different world.
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
All right, Stan, it's been a pleasure. Let me tell you, I'm thrilled that I had you on, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you like this. I hope we can do it again sometime. You got anything else you want to add?
If I come back to New York for some reason, I'll let you know in advance. But
okay.
We'll communicate this way.
Yeah. All right, Stan. Thanks.
And if you need anything, you know where to get me.
I know. You've been a great big help for the book, and I know there's probably more coming. So I'll be talking to you.
Okay, listen, I got to get going.
All right, Stan.
We'll stay in touch.
Thank you very much, Stan.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.